Hi, it's Michael Kerr here, presenting Small Business Banter. A healthy micro and small business sector means a successful economy and a more vibrant society. Small Business Banter is about helping regional business owners better prepare for current challenges, but also for the next stage of business success. I'm Michael Kerr, founder of Kerr Capital, advisors to business owners. Each week, I interview a fellow small business owner or an expert, and they share their stories, their lived experiences, the wins and the losses, and their best advice to help you, the listener, get the most you can from your own business. Small Business Banter is brought to you from the studios of 104.7 Gippsland FM and is heard across Australia on the Community Radio Network. And thanks also to Kerr Capital, supporters of the show. Welcome to another edition of Small Business Banter Radio. Really pleased to have in Chan Ooi from the Dimboola Imaginarium. We're going to get Chan to talk about the Dimboola Imaginarium, but welcome in firstly, Chan.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Good morning.
It's really wonderful to have you in. We met a couple of weeks ago when I was spending the weekend with some friends up at Dimboola, and we got chatting, and that's how this interview came about. It was serendipitous. You and partner Jamie made a move to Dimboola a few years ago, but could you just give us a little bit of a backdrop of where you came from, when you came to Dimboola, and what the Dimboola Imaginarium's all about?
No problem. Well, everyone asks us, how do we end up in Dimboola? And I generally say, by accident. so what happened was we've been fantasizing about getting out of Melbourne for, let's say, the last 6 years. We had a restaurant in Docklands for 13 years, but I started off in Yarraville in 1998. So we're one of the first in Yarraville to gut a building and create a new restaurant in Yarraville. So that was all up 20 years of hospitality. And wow. I guess at the end, I got really burnt out. I was actually really depressed leading up to moving to the country.
Yeah.
It was a decision that I knew I had to make because I was depressed in the hospitality industry because it was a lot of hard work. Your life runs according to the clock. By set time, you have to be out of here or have done this. So it was just a conveyor belt of sameness and pure hard work.
Yeah.
So by the end, I was really depressed, and of course, you need to make that call and to make that change. So we've been researching and fantasizing and inspecting country towns and homes for a while. So when the opportunity came up, it was installed. So we discovered a beautiful Mechanics Institute building built in 1875 on Main Street, Stawell. It was perfect to create an Imaginarium there, and we were going to call it Mr. Inskip's Imaginarium because the architect was Mr. Inskip. The building was magnificent because in the basement there was a basement with bluestone arches, but Roman arches, and the foundation was granite, so it was really well built. So you can imagine in the basement from the whole entire length of the building, you could create a wine bar. It was really quite spectacular.
Wow! So you did contemplate going back into hospitality. That was just a vision, but I wouldn't have done it. Yeah, it was just really cool. You know what I mean? Like it was like a cool, would have been a cool space. Having come from hospitality, you appreciate these things. Yeah.
But basically, about creating restaurants is about creating worlds, and that's what I've learned from the last two businesses, is that you think about what do you want your customer to experience, but also what do I want to experience first and foremost. So if I want to experience a particular world or environment, you create it. So that's what I've learned from the last two restaurants. You create your ideal world experience.
Yeah. Were you in the restaurant or in those businesses, were you a chef? Were you in front of what was your?
So my background was accounting. So I did.
Not what I expected, but
no, I did accounting, and the reason why I realized I didn't like accounting was, I guess, when I got to auditing, I thought, oh no, I've chosen the wrong course. So look, I've done it. I didn't like it only because I realized I like to create things. So you have a vision and you want to.
And if you do that in accounting, you can get in an awful lot of trouble.
That's right. So I wanted to create something that, that's real, that's an experience. And I guess I couldn't do that with accounting. So something happened early in my life where I just realized, I guess it was my first proper crisis, I should say. So, you talk about, a person going to crisis. That was my first adult crisis that I went through. So it was a bit of a shake-up, and that's why I decided to create my own world, and that's why we created the first restaurant in Yarraville, because it's about creating my own little world. I didn't like the politics and the power games in private industry, and I just wanted to get out of that, and I wanted to create my own world where the first restaurant was with family. Typical migrant story, you buy a building, you create your own business, so you become independent and, autonomous and do your own thing. So that's where it all started from, is that desire to be free. Yeah. And that was what started the first restaurant.
Yeah. And then you got to, and then a period of time ensued, you had a second restaurant, but really just burnt out to, is one way of
after 20 years. Yeah, because after 20 years, I guess that's deemed successful, but you're stressed if you're busy, you're stressed if you're quiet, you're stressed all around. So my stress level was higher than an average person, but it was my normal. It was my new normal. So they can see why I had to get out. So a true change stemmed from that, because I needed to address mental health and, I guess, physical health as well.
Yeah.
So if I had stayed in Melbourne now and not have moved to the country when I did in April 2019, I probably would have lost everything.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the reality.
Yeah. So how did you go about ending up? You looked at stall. Dimboola's maybe in, I don't know, an hour and a half, is it? Or maybe a bit longer from...
Yeah, so what happened was, once again, I can't make this up, but Stall, the Mechanics Institute, was used as a Bible college. So it was called the Australian Bible College. So they were on the extreme side of Christianity. So we were aware of them because their Facebook posts were extreme. To the point where, to give you an example of extremity, they described the Melbourne White Knight as demonic.
Okay.
Yeah. So because of that, we were mindful. So we kept an eye on them on social media. So one morning, a few days before Christmas, Jamie comes running out of the bedrooms, sort of like distressed. Oh my God, the owners of the Bible College are in prison in New South Wales for fraud. They were the ringleaders of 11 people for selling fake trading certificates. Now, we couldn't make that up. You couldn't make that up. So we put a deposit on it, and of course, 3 weeks into it, I realised it hasn't been signed and returned to me. And now we know why, because they were imprisoned in New South Wales for fraud. Right. So because of that, we had to quickly look for other properties, because our property in Melbourne was on the market to help fund the renovations, because the Bible College didn't have a kitchen. So we had to put a kitchen and turn into a home as well.
Yeah.
So we got the deposit back, thank goodness, but we had to quickly find alternative properties. So we did a list of 5 different properties, all unique, because for us to move out of Melbourne, we wanted the property to be special to make moving out of Melbourne worthwhile.
Yeah.
There's no point moving out of Melbourne to move into an ordinary property. That was, for us, it wasn't the point. The point
you definitely haven't got an ordinary property. You've got an 1800s.
So it's a 19th century bank, but the new brick building was built in 1909. So the original bank was the Oriental Bank in 1883. It was a weatherboard building, but then that collapsed globally due to mismanagement. So the National Bank of Australasia purchased the building, and then they built this building in 1909 in 9 months. So it's to give a description, it's built in the Renaissance style architecture. So it's got Greek and Roman elements. So really, it was an emblem of Dimboola's prosperity for the time.
Yeah. Okay. And it's a two-story,
Two-story,
substantial building that you've been in now for how many years?
just over 2.5 years.
And it's on the, there's living quarters or living upstairs, and so it's a good opportunity to talk about the Dimboola Imaginarium and what you've created there.
Yeah, so we wanted a special building because the style of the building creates the experience. So when you think about architecture, creates experience and it tells a story. So for us to create an Imaginarium, the building had to be special, and hence going back to Store, the Mechanics Institute building, because that was a majestic building of Victorian era that could convey what an Imaginarium is. And that's why, we can't create an Imaginarium in a normal shop. It hasn't got the same oomph, and it can't take you to a magic place. So architecture plays a big role in this. So when you walk through the original bank chamber in the Imaginarium, you really do enter another world. The ceiling height is 4.5 meters high. Because it's 4.5 meters high, we can put a 3.7 meter giraffe, because we want to create another worldly experience for patrons, but also for us, because it is our lounge room as well. The bank is our private residence. Yeah. In the old days, the bank managers lived on site. So upstairs is 4.5 bedrooms, and you've got lounge room, dining room, kitchen in the back. So it is after the bank shut, it was turned to a private residence. So the shop is our lounge room. So we wanted the experience to be nice for us first and foremost, and of course that conveys to customers.
So what is an Imaginarium?
So an Imaginarium is just a place that inspires the imagination. Right. So for me, I realized I do have an imagination, but I guess society sometimes tell you to suppress your imagination. It's like, don't, just pursue, that's what my parents said, pursue other careers.
Accounting's a good career.
That was one of them.
Which it is for some people.
Yes. So it's about, I guess what got me through the dark periods of the restaurant world at the end was through reading. So I would read a lot of books. So I would read books about, non-fiction books, of course, about history, architecture, but also about spirituality, and also about, I guess, humanity, what makes humans do what they do, to understand more about where I was at. And also, I also read a lot of fiction as well. So, and fiction takes me to other places. So through reading, that actually helped me get through the dark periods of the days. So for me, creating an Imaginarium really suited me because I could allow myself to be creative and free. And that's one of the reasons why we moved out of Melbourne, was to find a place where we can create another world for ourselves that's different to the restaurant world, but a world that we want to create finally, and at the age that we are, because this is the last big project. And therefore, when it comes to that, you realize, well, you actually want to do what you want to do, create what you want to create, and actually enjoy life again. So I have to say, I'm at the best space that I could be. I never thought I would get to this space. I thought it was just a long tunnel. I really didn't think I would see the light, literally the light. And I guess the Imaginarium has become a symbol of, I guess, me healing from the dark periods of in Melbourne.
I think, to make a significant choice to move from Melbourne, from successful businesses in and of itself is it's a huge move, and but you've recognised that's what you needed to do. On today's edition of Small Business Banter Radio is I'm chatting with Chan Oi from the Dimboola Imaginarium. There's a bit of a renaissance going on right across the country. We've had a couple of guests on this show talk about people fleeing from major cities to the regional areas. Dimboola carries it's a pretty iconic name in Australian folklore history. You've landed there. What are you hoping to achieve with the business? I mean, you've talked about I guess that, the reason for wanting to escape Melbourne to create something of your own. But what's in a crude sense, the business model that you've got there, and how's it fitting in with Dimboola and that, the silo art trail and all the other interesting things around the area?
I have to say, when we first got here, we ordered some firewood, and an older man who delivered it said to us, "Don't do anything too ambitious. Some locals may not like it." So that we came to that warning. So of course we clearly ignored that. So what we've done is, in a sense, I guess for some people would be considered brave, but what we did was something that we considered that gave us joy. So by creating something joyful that people can experience for the first time, that's completely different, completely unexpected. People don't expect to see this in Dimboola. You see, I've had feedback that there's the sort of shop you see, in big cities like London or Paris. It's that sort of caliber, because we've gone all out, putting all our world experience into the one space. So what has become,
it's a range. It's books. It's quirky.
It's a whole life. There? It's a lifestyle. Yeah. So by creating that in Dimboola, which people never expected, let alone the locals, it's become a destination shop.
Right.
Yeah. So that's how I guess the Dimboola town has evolved too. Because since we've opened, 2 other shops have opened, 2 other unique individual shops that you will never find anywhere else in Australia.
Right.
And that's what it's about. It's about creating, I think we've come full circle. The whole world, all the shopping centres around the world are all the same. It's the same brands.
Yeah.
So what's happened in terms of renaissance for Dimboola is that people are creating very personalised individual shops that you can not find anywhere else in the world. So, and of course, now there's another one coming up, hopefully in the next few weeks, and that shop will be unique. It's got handmade things that's made in Dimboola. They've got items sourced from the Western Bloc, Eastern countries during the Cold War. Now that's pretty cool. That's pretty unique.
Yeah.
So basically,
people will travel.
And after COVID, when you've been in a lockdown for how many weeks for Melburnians, a 4-hour drive out of Melbourne is liberation now. Before COVID, it was a chore. People would never contemplate that. But because of COVID, people realise it's freedom, absolute freedom, and also it's a chance for them to discover their own backyard. Of course, the fact that they can't travel overseas has, that's been a benefit for regional Victoria. So we're getting lots of first-timers coming to Dimboola, coming to the Wimmera for the first time, because the Wimmera is really the last frontier of tourism because of the distance. If you're not going to South Australia, you really wouldn't be that motivated to come to the Wimmera. But COVID has changed that perspective. I think the Wimmera's got a lot to offer now. I'm learning about the Wimmera, and the more I learn about it, the more passionate I become about the area. There's a lot of untapped experiences in the Wimmera.
What are some of those, Chan, that just to shout them out? Because
so, for example, there's quirky historical elements that people don't know about. So, for example, there's a church called Pello Church just north of Rainbow. It's this, you're driving 15 minutes out, you're going through the woods, you're surrounded by nothing but just woods, and all of a sudden you hit upon a Lutheran church in the middle of the woods, which they would have had to use horse and carriage to get to. And when you get in there, you discover a 19th century pipe organ from Germany.
Wow.
You're talking about a pipe organ that you see in bigger church, but this is in a small church in the woods. It's just the journey to get there is quite amazing. And then when you get there, the tour guide starts playing Bach on the organ. It's like a bit of Phantom of the Opera in the middle of the bush. It's just amazing. The I guess that juxtaposition between extremities of distance and then having a church in the middle of the woods with a 19th century pipe organ. It's just fascinating. Yeah. So there's just an example where you can have trippy experiences. And also the architecture of all the towns, the 19th century architecture. And because I've always, been drawn to architecture, I find that they're gems.
Yeah. Still affordable? Is that?
Yes. Compared to other country areas of Victoria, it's probably the most affordable area because of the distance.
Yeah,
But the renaissance, I think, that we're experiencing now is changing that. People are traveling to Dimboola and the Wimmera.
I mean, I think the whole, there is a shift going on, and what was too far away is, people are reassessing that now, because they want experiences and creating destinations. You've talked talked about this new shop opening, but also, the Wimmera River, the little desert. I mean, there's a lot that you can access, from around the place. We found it glorious. So, I know you've also, in moving from Melbourne to a small town with a population of, I think it's 1,000 or maybe.
It's floating between 1,400 and 1,700.
Okay.
Depending on what part of the internet you come across.
But that's a big move. How have you, have you got involved? I know there's I think there's a festival that you're behind. Do you want to talk about just the effort you made to get involved with locals?
Yeah.
And also to kind of, broaden out what Dimboola had to offer through things. I mean, there's lots to offer already, but, you're kind of adding to the mix with this festival.
So it was a bit of a shock coming to a smaller town, on one level, because it's a smaller community where everyone knows each other. So in Melbourne, you can be incognito and anonymous, and you can float through society with no one knowing you or knowing your neighbours. But here, everyone knows your business. So because, we bought a significant building in town, everyone's going to know who bought the building, of course. So they're already watching us. You know what I'm saying? So what they do is, whoever's new, I guess for Melburnians, just be mindful that you will be noticed. You do have to make I guess your behaviour needs to be changed as well. It's such a small, knitted community. Everyone knows each other, and most likely are related to each other. So be careful what you say as well, because it travels. Small things, spread very quickly. So having said that, we broke the ice with the town by having a special event, by having a photo recreation of the bank opening in 1909. So when the year that we moved, we was 110 years later that we, took residence of the building. So there's a photograph that we discovered of all the male customers were invited to the opening of the bank. So we felt like, we really want to create this shot because it hasn't been done before after 110 years. So we broke the ice by inviting the locals to come to participate in that photo recreation. 250 turned up, mostly older people, which was really great because they appreciate history and heritage. They had such a good time. They gave us the best event of the year for 2019.
Wow.
From the town committee, and also a letter from the CEO of the council. So that was really good. So we broke the ice. And from there, we opened the shop, and we've also been, active in the community, and also what people said is that they really like the fact that we're really down to earth and genuine. So that's really important too, I think, if you move to a country town. So, to fit in, just be down to earth, and, that's what we are, and that's how we've managed to do that. So because of that, over the years, which is only 2.5 years, I don't know, I think people like what we're doing. And so whatever we do seems to awaken people's awareness of certain elements. So I guess the steampunk event is one big example. We're pushing the envelope because not many people around here know what steampunk is. So and I know that steampunk festivals around the world in other country towns have been extremely successful. So it clearly works in the United States, New Zealand, the UK, and also different parts of Australia. Steampunk really lends itself to country towns and farming communities because they can upcycle and make wonderful contraptions through, the materials. So after this first event, I think all the farmers will learn what steampunk is. And I think they will embrace it because it's aesthetically quite beautiful. It won't date, and it's quite quirky. And, and I think the Herald Sun described Dimboola as that it's got an eccentric flavour. So let's embrace that. And I think steampunk lends itself to that.
Yeah. So we are coming up to the end, but that, can you just quickly describe what steampunk is and when this festival, all things going well with COVID, etc., when it will be?
Okay, September the 4th, the day before Father's Day. Yeah, and steampunk is really Victoriana, combining Victoriana and your imagination. So another way of saying it's 19th century aesthetics blending with science fiction. So it's a literary genre that stemmed from science fiction. So imagine Jules Verne, The Time Machine, that sort of period, the romanticized version of the 19th century with your imagination and science fiction is steampunk. Okay. So you're imagining the past having the technology that we have now, but still with the materials of the 19th century.
Yeah, okay. And there's lots of raw material to work with in some of these older towns. So
that's right.
That's great. Hey, Chan, thank you so much for your time today. It was really a very personal insight, and I thank you for that because one of the things that we want to encourage is people into small business, and you've done that, and also this program goes out through regional Australia through the Community Radio Network, and a lot of people have and are now considering moving, and you've done that, and I really admire what you've done, and it's I hope people listening in will also take some inspiration from it. It's a great story. So we wish you well at the Dimboola Imaginarium, and I can speak from first-hand experience. It's a hell of a great place to visit and worth lots to do around the area. So well worth the time and effort. Thanks again, Chan.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for the chat.
So that is all for today's episode of Small Business Banter. I continue to be inspired, bringing you small business experts and other small business owners and hearing their stories. If you want to listen to any past episode, jump onto your podcast platform of choice and search Small Business Banter. There you will find a diverse and fascinating collection of small business owners and experts openly discussing and sharing their experiences. For any of the links, resources, or information we've talked about on the show today, or to contact me, please head over to smallbusinessbanter.com, or you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And it would be great to have you tune in the same time next week for another episode of Small Business Banter.